Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends. My name is Erika Castellanos, and I stand before you today as a trans woman of indigenous Mayan heritage, a person living with HIV since 1995, and an advocate for the human rights of trans and gender diverse people worldwide. My journey has been shaped by resilience, struggle, and the unwavering belief that human rights are not privileges, they are entitlements. I was born and raised in a country that until 2016 criminalized LGBTQ people with a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. While this law was declared unconstitutional, the lived reality for LGBTQ people in my country and in many parts of the world has changed little. The stigma, discrimination, and institutional barriers that we face did not disappear with a legal ruling. They persist in the systems that deny us dignity, in the services that exclude us, and in the societies that still see us as less than human. It was through HIV advocacy and activism that we were able to challenge these legal barriers. In many parts of the world, HIV remains the first and often the only door to open up discussions on human rights. The HIV response has created spaces where we can demand justice, where we can push against oppression, and where we could fight not just for access to treatment, but of our right to exist, to be free, and to thrive as human beings. Today, we are facing unprecedented backlash. The political landscape is shifting, and not in our favor. We are witnessing anti-gender attacks from governments, from private and public institutions, and even from within this very space, the United Nations. Around the world, trans and gender diverse people are being scapegoated. We are being portrayed as threats to society, to economies, and even to nature itself. We are such a small population, and yet we have become the #1 political target in manufactured culture wars. None of us in this room want to see a repeat of the 90s, 80s AIDS crisis, yet we stand on the precipice of it once again. I am here today because of the HIV response, because science, advocacy, and the tireless efforts of those who came before me fought for a human rights-centered approach to public health. I am here because of the hard work, sweat, blood, and tears of countless people, many of whom did not survive this epidemic. I am here because I was not seen as a vector of a virus. I was seen as a human being. Today, I am undetectable. I am married. I have 2 children. I am free. I am alive. I am alive because of an HIV response that valued my life. If we want to sustain the gains made in the HIV response and ensure that no one is left behind, then we must protect and fund human rights-based approaches to HIV. The rollback of funding and political will for the HIV response is not just a public health failure. It's a human rights crisis. If we do not act now, we risk losing not only decades of progress in fighting HIV, but also one of the last remaining spaces where trans and gender diverse people can fight for our rights. When we deny one community their voice and their rights, we are silencing a generation that is not only critical to ending AIDS, but also central to efforts to advance gender equality globally. I urge you to defend and sustain HIV funding, not as a matter of charity, but as a matter of justice. Recognize the interconnectedness of the HIV response and human rights, especially for marginalized communities. Stand with us against the rising tide of anti-gender attacks in your governments, in your institutions, and in this sacred space. HIV is more than a virus. It is a political issue, a human rights issue, and a fight for survival. The question before us is not whether we can sustain the HIV response. It is whether we have the courage to defend human rights in the face of rising oppression. I chose to fight. I hope you will too. Keep in mind we started the work on HIV before there was money. And we will continue when it runs out. Even in financial restricted times, we need to protect human rights, and communities need to be a part of it. It is not we and them, it is us. We are in this together, and we will end AIDS as a public health threat. In closing, I want to highlight 4 things that should be on everyone's radar this year. First, the upcoming IAS 2025 conference in Rwanda, set for July, comes at a time when our collective efforts are more critical than ever. The US funding freeze has halted life-saving treatments and prevention programs. Let us use this platform to advocate for restored funding and share innovative solutions. Secondly, later this year, the Global Fund will celebrate its replenishment event, hosted by South Africa and the UK. Let's ensure to protect the gains over the years and continue saving lives. Thirdly, UNAIDS high-level panel is having discussions on a fit-for-purpose and sustainable response towards 2030 and beyond. We need a fully funded UNAIDS. And lastly, we need country programs supported and funded. We can't achieve an end to AIDS without support to low and middle income countries, to strengthen and sustain their responses, to prevent new HIV infections and provide treatment, saving lives of key populations, saving lives of women and girls, and saving lives of our children. Thank you.